Alright, so today we're going to do something different. This is going to be my first review of manga. So let's start with Assassination Classroom. I actually just recently finished it up. And the story is about a bunch of junior high students who are kind of like dropouts or black sheep, outcasts of the school. They get such a low GPA or test score average for one reason or another that they end up going to this class called Class E. It's in the middle of the woods, and it's where they're made kind of an example of, so the other students don't neglect their studies or act out in the way that these kids did. But to their surprise, their original teacher has kind of been replaced by this octopus who claims he's destroyed the moon and is going to destroy the planet at the end of March. So, which correlates with when they graduate. And the only way he'll stop it is if he's assassinated by then, and he's trying to train his students to not only be assassins to kill him, but also to be great students, really smart, and to be back to the top so they can achieve their goals. It's a gag manga / sci-fi, and it started publication in July 2nd of 2012 by Yusue Matsui, but ended in March 25th of 2016, which is just shy of 4 years. It's spanned about 21 volumes, which is the same author as Neuro Supernatural Detective. I never read that manga, but it was 23 volumes and it ran just over 4 years. It was published in February of 2005 and ended in April of 2009. I never really got into Nero, but I hear it's one of the best series in terms of gag mangas in Supernatural Detective. It has a lot of crossovers with Gintama and Muihou Roji, so it's something I was always interested in reading. It actually did get an anime released in America and Japan, and apparently that's why it wasn't actually localized in America, the manga that is, because the anime actually did so poorly here. But it was kind of a bad test gauge because the anime actually didn't do well in Japan, despite the manga really killing it. So it was a little bit of an odd thing that they did by not releasing the manga here, at least first, in my opinion anyways. But in any case, I feel like the story has like a really okay / mediocre beginning. The students just kind of go on these little short stories and mini assassination attempts that are kind of straightforward, uninteresting, and half-assed. It's just like an okay gag manga. The jokes aren't that great even. It's kind of funny to see the octopus be like a total perv and be the ultra strong being that's going to destroy the world but act like a goofball. It just is like, I don't know, kind of run of the mill once you've gone through a lot of gag manga. However, it starts to get really good in the beach arc. You start to know the students' names a little bit better and their specialties. Whereas at the beginning, you don't really know too much about anybody except for Nagisa, who is essentially Deku from My Hero, where he doesn't have any abilities, really, but he's got like this big fanboy notebook of weaknesses for Koro-sensei, who's the main character. So he's pretty much our main character, Nagisa, but it's like he's the only one you know out of the class of like 15. And they just like introduce a new character or like 3 every chapter, so it's a breakneck pace. But you don't really get to know them until about the beach arc, which is a really big turning point. It opens the readers to the world of assassins, and also like kind of the dark underbelly of the world. It takes a small dive into that kind of an assassin life. Especially when you get to the Grim Reaper arc, which is also a pretty good arc as well. But once it gets to that Grim Reaper arc, the story really doesn't slow down, and it really starts to hit a huge stride. It's in between the arcs, it goes through a small dive of like the everyday life, but once it hits Grim Reaper arc, it just hits a really good kind of a groove or flow, and it's really hard to put the books down. I ended up reading them like 4 volumes at a time, and just like cruising through it. The story ends pretty well. You know, there's a few loose ends, and I would have liked to see more of the assassins. There's a bonus at the very end of the last manga volume that showcases a few assassins and what Koro-sensei does during his winter break. But it's just like dipping the toes in there. I mean, like, you hardly really get to see anything about the assassin world, which after the beach arc where they introduce the assassin and underbelly of the world, I would have liked to have seen more. The art style isn't bad, you know, it's definitely serviceable. The author picks it up in instances that are kind of more serious, which you kind of expect, but otherwise it's pretty standard for a gag manga, I would say. It's just like average, you know, it's not amazing like Vagabond or Berserk, and it's not like great like Death Note is pretty great. I wouldn't say Death Note's up the same tier as Vagabond. And I would say this is somewhere in the middle. You know, it's not really bad like Haiku is, especially at the beginning. You know, it's just okay. The overall story is pretty good, though, I would say. I really liked the story as a whole, despite the beginning being pretty mundane and straightforward, kind of basic, up until around volume 4 to 8, I feel like is when it starts to pick it up, and then it goes pretty good for 22 volumes total, or rather 21 volumes total, which isn't too bad. It's pretty what's the word for it? It ends up being pretty deep, and well, maybe not deep. It ends up being pretty what's the word I'm thinking of? It's tough to put my finger on it, but it showcases the students' growth really well. You know, they start off from these half-ass attempts, and they start to become, you know, more full-fledged assassins. They have these really good plans. They end up getting their own skills really developed. Maybe that's the word for it. It's a story that starts off at like kind of nothing, like these kids do. You know, just kind of run-of-the-mill average high school students that come up with these kind of dumb average plots that any kid would come up with, into these really smart and cunning assassins that are pretty good at, you know, their fortes. One's really good at being stealthy. The other one's really good at hand-to-hand combat. Another's really good at being a deceiving temptress, you know. There's all these different things that these kids are good at. There's a few good snipers, too. And so it's nice how the manga kind of begins to grow as the kids grow. You know, so I feel like that actually is kind of nice. But I did notice a weird kind of localization error. I know it's supposed to be, they changed the character's name Irina from Irina to Miss Vitch in the English manga. But in the anime it should be, or even the Japanese manga, Mrs. Bitch, because she loses a bet with Koro-sensei. And the English translation will censor it, and then in another volume, it won't censor it, and it'll be Miss Bitch, which I think is pretty hilarious, to be honest with you, that in of itself. I'm just going to touch lightly on the ending of the manga here, so there are some bit of spoilers here. I really liked the ending to it. Once they were teasing the fact that Koro-sensei could be saved, I was thinking it was kind of going to be a bit of a fake out, you know, like oh, so they don't have to kill him, everything works out at the end, Koro-sensei lives, teaches everybody forever, everyone lives happy ever after. But luckily it doesn't turn out that way, and Koro-sensei gets kind of cornered by the government. I don't understand why he couldn't dig underground to get out of there, but maybe there was a mention that he hit the anti-Koro-sensei nets end up going all the way underground, and then he can't get around because of that. But if that was a sentence or something, I missed that, and I I mean, I guess that fixes my one random plot hole about the ending, but in any case, it was interesting to see how they figured out a way how to catch Koro-sensei in a way that made sense. To put up a net like that from satellites with a cannon, well, I guess the net was made from generators, but still, it made sense that Koro-sensei wouldn't notice that because he has a lot of other things going on. Plus, he also can't really see them because it happened so fast. It was like a beam of light, so it wasn't even... He couldn't have been faster if he wanted to be. And then to have the kids kill him versus the cannon, obviously, it made like a good sense for Koro-sensei to make that choice, but it was pretty sad to have to see them all hold down Koro-sensei and then just stab him in the heart like that. It was kind of a brutal ending, in my opinion. But yeah, I did actually really like to see the duality of the Grim Reaper in Koro-sensei versus his students, that he's teaching in the school, to see how Koro-sensei was originally instructing and how he's affecting those around him versus who he is now. I also thought that the way he became the octopus was kind of interesting. It was also like super fucked up. I can't even believe that the world's top assassin would like let people just experiment on him. But it kind of makes sense since he's totally falling for this goal, but also not really. But overall, I feel like Assassination Classroom is worth a read for sure. And if you are to watch the anime is pretty good as well. I watched about half of it. The animation quality was great. I thought it was really well done. In the English dub, the voice actor for Koro-sensei is Usopp, so that's a fun little bit of trivia for you there, which adds some humor to me as well. / Krillin. Krillin and Usopp are the same voice actor as well. But yeah, I would probably rate Assassination Classroom a solid 4 bowls of spaghetti. With meatballs, actually, so it's definitely worth it in the end. You just really have to persevere through the beginning there, the first few volumes. But once you do, and if you do, it's a really good read in the end. So I definitely would recommend people to give it a read, or at least a watch. But that's it. If you have any comments, suggestions, any opinions on this series, definitely leave them below, and I'd love to check them out to see your thoughts on it. But otherwise, everyone have a great day. Thanks for watching. Bye.